Welcome back to the great state of Texas. On our first visit, I introduced you to their abundant elephant family, then their newest development, and next up on the Houston Zoo's trail, the African forest. Opened in two phases, Phase 1 was unveiled in 2010, kicking off a renaissance that quickly began to dramatically modernize the park. The ironic thing, only 1/3 of the African forest actually represented the forest. Until 5 years later, when an even more groundbreaking Phase 2 was added to the journey. 11 total years of planning, around $70 million, and only 4 enclosures built on 8 acres, crowning this the most innovative, perceptive, and largest project in the zoo's history. It isn't until the third entrance that we reach the gates of Phase 2. A portal called the Arrival Building. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Houston Zoo's most progressive exhibit to date. It begins with an enclosed viewing shelter. What you see is just 1/3 of one sanctuary. Hopefully I don't need to reveal everything that's in here just yet, but I can tell you one. Tucked in between the 2 forested spots is a creek home to the colorful red river hog, who on both days were hiding under these roots, avoiding the heat. They are limited to this dry stream, but their roommates have access to it all. So let's continue. Upon the exit begins the immersion, a short forest trail. Settled above in the treetops is a colobus family of 3. While they are very commonly displayed, unfortunately these guys won't be moving anytime soon. From that forest starts an elevated boardwalk, and beyond the overlook, you notice that the river hog exhibit continues even further down, and above them, the most complex natural design in the zoo's 55 acres, added in 2015 with an additional $28 million, the gorillas of the African forest. As of August of 2019, they are now home to 9, a bachelor group of 5 and a family troop of 4, ranging from ages 7 to 46, coming from South Carolina, New Orleans, New York, and Denver. And yes, they do actually live with the red river hogs. According to the zoo, they are the only place in the world that mixes them together. Originally, this was intended to be the largest gorilla complex in the world. Though it ended up falling short, the numbers are still impressive. Before the African forest, gorillas were absent from Houston for 11 years after the beloved male Makubwa, an eastern gorilla, passed away. And even from the words of the zoo, his enclosure was inadequate. Now, that will never be a complaint again. If for whatever reason you can't find them in here, some could be in the well-furnished outdoor enclosure away from the public's eyes. Or you can see them at our next stop. The Great Ape Gallery, also known as the start of Phase 1. The original entrance to the African forest in its only indoor portion. But going back to Phase 2, an additional room was extended that educates visitors on gorilla conservation and includes a look at their bedroom or day room for their ape friends, where you'll most likely see them be more active. Now going back once more, at the glass, introducing the channel's first chimpanzees. The 3rd greatest ape in terms of size, and one of our closest relatives. Last I read, the zoo was home to 14 members of 2 troops, one coming from a private collection in California and another from Virginia. They too were given an impressive home, nearly 15,000 square feet, entirely enclosed by moats and natural-looking rock. With an added bonus of complex climbing structures the zoo stated was most difficult to design. On one side of the viewing, there's a chimp-operated water fountain, and on the other side, a chance to see their ability to use tools to their advantage by extracting food from their artificial termite mound. There are 2 ways to see these chimps, obviously in here, with 2 glass panels and a keeper station in the center, making this the best site to interact with an animal at the Houston Zoo. The other spot continues our tour outside, giving one last distant look, in my opinion, the best look of this ape oasis. Immediately following that is a cave underpass, another portal that takes you from the tropical forest to the dry savanna. Relishing in the sand, occupying the largest exhibit of Phase 1, coming from South Africa, the southern white rhinoceros. Through the years in Houston, they coexisted with kudu and Speaks gazelles, but now it appears that this trio has gone solo. The African forest concludes with a very modest in size savanna that, yes, did at one point have grass. The last on the trail is also the busiest, starting with the Masai Giraffe, the tallest animal in the world. The forest originally opened with a herd of 10, mostly coming not from another zoo, but from their own outdated paddock that's now part of a spacious elephant home. At their newer habitat, like just about every other giraffe exhibit out there, guests are encouraged to feed them. Near their feet is the Grant's zebra, the smallest of the 6 subspecies of the common plain zebra, but their size doesn't stop them from being the most dominant animal over their savanna friends, which includes lastly the common ostrich, well, hopefully I don't need to tell you what record these guys hold. Now, it's rare enough to have public access to seeing savanna animals indoors, but what's even more rare is seeing them like this, allowing you to get nose to nose with the zebras, or my favorite, beak to beak with these small-brained birds. So we covered phase 1 and phase 2. Now all we need to do is just wait for phase 3. Of all the recent changes Houston has made to be one of the leading examples of care and conservation, it goes without saying that the African forest is where they hit their peak. That is, until their next project comes along and becomes a rival. That concludes this episode of Zoo Tours. Stay tuned, and as always, thank you for watching.